Hey guys, welcome back to the Ghost and Friends YouTube channel, also airing on X. Thank you guys for tuning in and being here. Welcome to our Texas A&M rival guest, Mr. Drew, Texas A&M University, here for the second time. How are we doing, Drew?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Thanks for having me again. I'm excited to talk football, man. We're in the full swing of it.
Did you hear me call you guys a rival? You know, saying that out loud. I know there's like a 1% of the Twitter troll fan base out there that's like, no, they're not a rival. It's only Oklahoma. So just acknowledging.
Yeah. I mean, I hate you, man. It's all good. I hate you, and it's a healthy hatred. It's just how it works. But we're able to talk now because we actually play each other, so it's a little bit more camaraderie going on in the rivalry now, which I like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we were to talk 3 years ago, it was going to be about Kyle Lang versus Robert Barron's tweet, and so
yeah, right.
As Chance said, the rival. Thanks for tuning in, Mr. Bitters. It's about time you made an appearance on this channel, Chance. But James Ellis, how we doing, sir? Don't recognize that name. So thanks for coming in and seeing Drew. But yeah, man, ton to talk about with Texas A&M. A lot of people kind of wrote you guys off after a Notre Dame loss, which is silly. It's a tough opening game, new regime in College Station under Coach Elko. How you feeling, man? You're 2-0 in the SEC. You've won some games that you're probably supposed to win. Now at the same time, they weren't necessarily pretty. But you found a way to get wins, and that's all that matters. So just overall, we'll quit real quick before we kind of break down any particular game or look forward to any particular game. What are your overall feelings at the moment as you woke up on this Tuesday? Well, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because that's actually something I've been reflecting on quite a bit, because believe it or not, we're coming up on the halfway point of the season in terms of games played, which is insane. It's mind-blowing. After this weekend, we'll be 6 games in.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think given different expectations on the year, if it wasn't a year one, I feel a little different right now, because you're right. Things haven't been pretty. But given, the loss to Notre Dame and just finding a way to survive over the last 4 games, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty energized, man. Just staying alive with everything that's going on with the team, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. Obviously, I'm sure you got a glimpse of that Bowling Green game that was anything but pretty freaking nasty, if you ask me. But like the way that the Florida game ended, it wasn't on necessarily a high note, although you feel pretty good about your performance there. It left you wondering, like, what's the long-term trajectory of the defense and all that stuff. And just the ability to stay alive while you're still improving week to week, it just presents a major opportunity, man. It means, you still have something to fight for while you're figuring things out. And the Arkansas game obviously was another case of this, right? It wasn't a pretty 4-quarter offensive game for A&M. It really wasn't. You had a couple of good moments in the game, but really through 4 games, haven't put a full game together on either side of the football. We feel pretty good about the defensive performance we're coming off of.
Yeah.
But, you gave up some explosives early in the game. So, I'm grateful to be where we are, because, with the schedule, it's not too daunting of a schedule as far as SEC schedules go. I mean, it feels like we've given ourselves some time to figure things out, even though we're not there yet, which is just a really cool spot to be at in year one.
I agree with a lot of what you said there, Drew. I mean, I feel like if you guys as a fan base, if they were to say, hey, y'all are 4-1 through 5 games right there, there's a lot of people that would take that pretty quickly. You're talking about a road trip to Florida, which is never easy, Arkansas game, which is never easy, and obviously Notre Dame as well. So I feel like, just overall, you guys are on track. Definitely a lot to be excited about, because you do have a pretty fun schedule coming up. I mean, Missouri at home, yeah. We'll get into that. We'll go backwards to start with Arkansas. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Obviously Arkansas scored a couple of times there in the first quarter, as well as you guys putting up one. I gave out on my gambling segment A&M and Arkansas under 52.5. And so when I watched the start to that game, I have a lot of immediate panic, because I'm just like, oh, Taylon Green 75 yards or whatever it was. Oh, A&M goes and answers. Oh, here comes Arkansas. And then your defense woke up a little bit. No more of the big explosive plays. And then they got you, I mean, essentially, a touchdown there when Nick Scorton blew up the mesh on the Arkansas read option or whatever that play design was, which was fantastic, by the way. As a fan of college football defense, physical defense, he smoked that mesh. There was never a chance
Beautiful.
for Arkansas there, and then it's a matter of just who recovers the football. No chance for Arkansas on that play. And so you know, I don't like to see it, but hey, you respect greatness when it's there. And
Sure.
so shout out Nick Gordon for that play. That kind of changed the momentum of that game. What were your thoughts, man? Obviously, you know, probably a little worried there in the first quarter as far as, you know, just settling in. But after the hot start by Arkansas, you know, you're talking about conceding 3 points over, 3 quarters of play.
Yeah. I mean, I'm ready to be very uncomfortable during the games in Jerry World, man. I've been going to the game for like 6 or 7 years, pretty much since I became an Aggie. I'm a relatively new Aggie. Went to school in 2016 for the first time there. I transferred there, and I've gone to the game pretty much every year since then. And yeah, I pack my heart medication. I pack a comfort blanket. I bring my dog. I bring my fiance, just some stuff to hug because this game makes me feel bad. It makes me feel pretty uncomfortable, if I'm being honest. And the heart rate gets really high. I remember in the third quarter of this game when the offense was stalling, I felt like heart palpitations almost, like, because I'm screaming. I mean, I'm a loud fan. I'm a very animated fan when I'm at the games. And it's like, I had a moment in the game where like, Drew, you need to chill out. This is not good for your health. But anyway, about the game. Yeah, man, going into it, Arkansas had shown some pretty exciting things on the year so far. You know, they're not, you know, a clean team in their own right. They weren't a complete team. They weren't playing complete football. But I think Arkansas is one of those high variance teams usually that can kind of sneak up on anybody on any given weekend. I really feel that way, especially about their team this year, because on their offense, they obviously have Taylon Green, inconsistent quarterback, but, you know, one play he can be, you know, kind of playing like shit, and then the next play he can just break your heart. That's kind of what you come to expect from a guy like Taylon Green. And then Jaquindon Jackson was the leading SEC rusher before that game, badge of honor. He no longer is, but yeah, man, they had some weapons. Andrew Armstrong is a great receiver. Their O-line had made some strides, although we put an end to those strides on the game on Saturday, which was nice. So, yeah, going into the game, I acknowledge, man, this is another close game. I think I had A&M winning by a score or so. But going into it with the mindset that anything could happen. And then, yeah, man, I'm sitting in the seat and 2 great defensive plays to start the game out. And then, boom, exactly what the scouting report had at the top of the list. You got to contain Taylon Green. You can't let him extend plays. And that's exactly what he did on that touchdown pass to kick the game off, that 73-yard, whatever it was, 75-yard touchdown pass to Isaac Tesla. And, you know, our nickel, Jaden Hill's getting a lot of shit for that play. But that was a really good play by Arkansas and Taylon Green. We were in single high man coverage, and the receiver broke off the route after Taylon Green extended the play.
Right.
And tip your hat to a play like that, even though that was like number 1 on the scouting report. Maybe you can say, okay, the safety maybe should have not broke contain over the top there. But, you know, sometimes offenses just find success, and that happened. But it's the feeling like, oh, my goodness, we're going to do this. We're going to give up explosives all game. The next drive, they get the ball back. We don't score. I think we go 3 and out. And we stop them. And then what do? In typical wacky Jerry World A&M Arkansas fashion, they fake the punt. They have a rugby punter, and a lot of rugby punters are taught that, okay, if the lane clears, you just run.
Right.
And it happened. And Mike Elko ate that. He said, I need to get him prepared better. They go on a touchdown drive. And then I think maybe that was a couple drives down. I don't remember how the scoring went. I think we answered the first score after a couple back and forth punts. Then that happened. However it happened. A couple of weird scores for them in the first quarter. But from that point forward, that's when that mesh point attack menace, you know, Godzilla situation happened. That was so cool. Just awesome football right there. You know, read off Scorton or Shamar Stewart at your own risk, teams, especially with those slow developing read plays that Arkansas was running, because we blew up about 3 or 4 of those plays on the game. Or there were also plays where, you know, they gave the quarterback the defensive end, you know, get the ball out before he gets to you. And he was getting smashed on those plays. Scorton, even if he got the ball out, it wasn't accurate because Scorton was just bodying him, or Stewart was just bodying him. And the defensive line finally put together a performance that we kind of envisioned for the team on the year. Now, they weren't bad by any means the first 4 games or whatever it was. Yeah, 4 games. They were just playing against teams that weren't willing to drop back and say, okay, quarterback, we trust you. Go make plays. Teams weren't forcing their O-line to hold their water, and Arkansas did that. Arkansas, you know, tested the defensive line, and the D-line passed the test, and that was probably the story of the game. But I also thought the rest of the defense took strides this game versus Bowling Green, gave up too many explosives. And outside of that early, barrage we got, they really contained that stuff. The 5-star transfer Des Ricks out of Alabama, he started this game. He was the team named player of the week defensively for the team, just in the nick of time, because you got Luther Burden coming to town next week. Will Lee doing his thing. Will Lee, he's becoming that NFL prospect that a lot of guys thought he could become, and we're seeing it before our eyes. He's had such a good season. He really stamped that in against Andrew Armstrong in this receiver core. Linebackers played better, still some stuff to clean up, but a lot better this game. All the defensive trends going in the right direction. And I'm with you, man. I got to appreciate great defensive line, whichever team it's happening. I mean, if Texas is blowing some plays up, I'll acknowledge the football is cool. Like, if I'm seeing cool football, we're going to acknowledge that. So I appreciate you saying that. And then, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll get your opinion first, because I've been talking for a while of what you made of A&M's offensive performance that game.
No, man, you're great. It's like I said, this show's all about you, for you guys in here because of Drew on representing Drew's YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. Yes, I am the ghost of Texas football on Twitter. It kind of sounds really weird to say out loud. I hope Drew will back me up on this. I do talk fairly about the Sooners, about the Aggies, LSU, everybody but Baylor, pretty much, to be honest with you. Anybody but them.
Baylor,
you guys throw a like here on the video for Drew, run that likes up, and subscribe to the channel. I'm talking about the Aggies at least once on here with an Aggie guest every week. And like I said, I'm pretty fair most of the time. I will make my jokes, when you fall on your face. Like, we all fall on our face. I expect you to make your jokes when we fall on our face. So thick-skinned, but let's have some fun. Throw some likes on the video, subscribe to the channel, check it out. Shows daily, not always Texas stuff. Got all types of content in there. But let me talk about your offense a little bit. I mean, Marcel eventually is just, for me, I played quarterback and I love to throw the ball deep. He's close on some deep balls, man. And eventually, connecting on that's going to do a lot for the run game, obviously, because, safeties eventually have to honor the deep shots. And I think that's the next, I think I saw you tweet about that. And it is, the next level to kind of unlocking your offense. And so for what you're working with, teams are kind of going to come down and make you play in a box at the moment. And I like the run game, especially for the injuries that you had. A lot of carries, not a huge yards per average or anything. Not as bad as Arkansas's, but
right.
That's the kind of game that y'all can play and beat them in. And it doesn't matter. Like, y'all didn't want to play a shootout with Arkansas. You know what I mean? I don't think you want to see a ton of Taylon Green out there, even though you handled him really, really well in the last 3 quarters. I still like Marcel, man. I still think he's growing. It's going to take some time. It's still a new system. You got injuries everywhere. So even as a rival, I'm not so quick to jump on and hate on him when there are some struggles, because the numbers aren't really impressive. I mean, 11 for 22, I think is what it was. Yards per attempt aren't crazy or anything, but I mean, I like the game. You can see that he is growing up a little bit. And it's an Aggie offense that, as a whole, there's just a lot of new there and a lot of inexperience with the system. It takes time. And so considering some of the teams that you've already played, considering you've already played 2 conference games in Notre Dame, I think you're okay with where you're headed, man. But I of course, I'm going to have the Marcel and Connor question later in the show. I don't know. We talked about it a little bit already, but the last time we talked, man, was right before the Florida and A&M game. And we kind of talked about this situation, like, what if Marcel goes in there and wins these games that your defense should play very well in, between Florida and Auburn. Wouldn't really worry about Bowling Green at the time, but outside of big plays, man, the defense they're really balling. It's just there's an explosive play in there, and there wasn't much in the first half of Bowling Green, and then bang, third quarter it happened a couple times. So it's not like it's it's limited to the first quarter, limited to the third. I mean, like, it just kind of happens a couple times a game. And so they figured those things out, which they'll continue to get, obviously more experience under Elko, which some of them already have experience under Elko. But as you said, as everybody kind of takes strides, like, that A&M defense has a very, very high ceiling this year. And obviously I don't think you or I or any Aggie here would say that they're there yet. Don't hit it before the Texas game. That would be my only request.
We got time, man. We got time to figure it out.
Absolutely, man. There is a lot of time. And speaking of time, Missouri rolls into Kyle Field, having a lot of time to get ready for this game. Coming off a bye week, but let's be honest, they weren't playing very inspirational football the 2 weeks prior to that. Beat up on a couple of nobodies in the first 2 weeks, and then they played a pretty close football game with Boston College, which Boston College did kind of rally late to make that game look a little bit close. But then the Vanderbilt game, that was close and always close, and definitely a game that they could have lost. And so first official prediction is then for Mr. James Ellis. Thank you, James, for being here. 28-24. You're not a homer, man. It's okay to say it with your chest, brother. You think A&M's better than Missouri, and that's all good. I'll make my official prediction later in the week, but I'm on board with you. So when you look at Missouri, give me something that concerns you, if anything concerns you, something that you think you can take advantage of, and then just your overall thoughts on Missouri as a team so far through 4 games for them?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to say nothing concerns me because they have been playing pretty bad. But I think with Missouri, you look at what they did last year, what they were known for, explosives with that really good receiver core, getting Luther Burden involved in all facets of the game, in the backfield, handoffs, short passes, catch and runs. And they really just haven't been doing it this year. It's been a really, really weird thing to see. And yeah, they had a couple of, bottom feeders come in there, Murray State, Buffalo, and they handled business against them. But I think the cracks were showing in those games, just some weird inaccuracies from Brady Cook, just inability to get Luther Burden involved in the offense, and just a lack of explosive plays. That was kind of the, what do you call it? Like the foreshadowing of kind of what's been really getting at them versus their 2 Power 5 matchups. And yeah, going into the year with Missouri, I thought their defense was going to be what held them back because I think most people realize this by now, but Blake Baker, their DN coach, their safeties coach, all got poached by LSU. And that was an underrated defense last year. Missouri was top 11 in sacks forced last year, had a great pass rush. Really underrated defense they had last year. They lose a lot of the coaching staff. They lose 8 mainstays on that defense. So for me, going into the year, I thought Missouri was not going to make the playoff. I thought they were a 9-win team, and I thought that defense was going to hold them back. And so far, defense has been fine, but what have they been tested with? They have given up some explosives in their own right, similar problems to A&M. But yeah, I think it's a big test for them coming up versus an A&M's offense that is yet to gain its footing as well. But yeah, going into the game, what scares me about them? Well, Nate Noel is their new running back, replacing Cody Schrader, who is their heart and soul, former walk-on superstar running back last year. They also have, I forget his first name, but Carroll, another transfer, I think, out of Georgia State. That they're both playing well for them, but really Nate Noel has been the star there. And he's been playing he's been filling in for Schrader really nicely. That's kind of the big surprise on the positive side of things for Missouri. I think they have a really good running game. I think they run really good between the tackles because that kid can just squirt through small creases and bust off huge runs. That was like the shining light in that Vandy game where a lot of stuff wasn't working. But, I mean, the potential of what they can do with those receivers scares me because as good as A&M is stuffing the run, corralling players between the tackles when that, amazing defensive line is involved with plays, I think A&M has still shown some questions in like eye discipline, outside contain, open field chasing and angles. That kind of stuff concerns me. And if Missouri finds a way to like hone it in, they can really test that for A&M. So I'm really hoping this isn't the game that Brady Cooks just figures it out, because if you've watched film on Missouri this year, it's just kind of baffling to watch him play. I mean, he's not willing to throw the ball deep right now. He's like kind of a check down merchant right now. And in the short stuff, he's missing receivers. He's throwing it over their head. He's throwing it behind. He's inaccurate. It's just been really strange to see. So there's been kind of a weird vibe coming out of their side of things. But, you have to be nervous about that potential and what they can be and what they were expecting to be, because really, it's the same thing that made them great last year. They have all the ingredients are back. They're having a little bit of a change on the left side of their O-line, 2 new starters over there. I mean, that's been a hurdle they've had to struggle with so far in the year. O-line has not been crisp for them either. So what I'm looking at is kind of just not letting them settle in this game. They had that bye week. They're going to be better than what they were before. But don't let this be the game where they all of a sudden get comfortable and start clicking. And I have faith in A&M's defensive line to really kind of stamp that in. That's what I'm looking at right there when they have the ball. So, yeah, I mean, I was never the highest on Missouri, but I did call this game in my preseason predictions a loss for A&M because of where it fell on the schedule, because of where I thought Missouri would be versus where A&M is. And maybe A&M's not clicking offensively as I hoped they would be. Missouri's not either. So that kind of brings us back to the middle. And I just dropped my preview video, and I have A&M winning this game.
I think that's more than fair, to be honest with you. I don't know if Brady Cook is injured. I've heard a couple things about that, but I haven't seen anything that would confirm nor deny anything, to be honest. But something's different. That offense does not have the explosiveness that it did a year ago, and you still have Theo Weiss and you have Luther Burden out there. A lot of people considered them to be the best 1-2 punch in the country at the position coming into the season. And not saying that they're not uber talented. They're just not getting the ball in the same type of way they were last year. They're not attacking downfield. And yeah, it's kind of weird to watch. It feels like something is going on there.
Now, I wonder, I'll interrupt you for a second because I'm trying to brainstorm like what it could be over there. I mean, is it because they're well scouted now? Is it because that people know what makes them click? Are people able to just take it away? Because I've noticed people are conceding a little bit of run to them and really dropping deep back and just preventing those explosives with them. I saw Vandy doing that a lot, just some deep high safety stuff. And they're still running their deep routes against that, just kind of, I guess, wait until it hits, but it's not hitting. I wonder if they're just well scouted now and they kind of took the country by storm last year a little bit. I'm wondering if that's playing into it. And it's funny. I've heard a lot of people bring up I mean, is he hurt? I mean, is he okay? What's he going through? Is he going through a breakup? Like what's happening with Brady Cook, man? It's strange.
It is strange. And, if they come out in this, and now it's going to be against a tough A&M defense, but if they look the way that they did against Vanderbilt, I mean, I'll have more major question marks about Missouri and Brady Cook because, I mean, that offense looks very, very different. Yeah, two new starters at the left side of the offensive line, very important over there. But I just assumed, that they would continue clicking and that we'd be much more worried about their defense. And so offensively versus for you guys, is there something you think you guys can do well? Do you think you can run the ball on Missouri's front? Because to me, it really feels like they'll probably really sell out, man. Just absolutely sell out. Try to limit the run game, create some negative plays. Try to maybe knock off Marcel before he gets going, with his legs.
Yeah.
Not let him break the line of scrimmage with his legs is what I kind of mean. They'll try to attack you guys. That's just knowing what I've seen on film from A&M. That's how I would play with their defense. Marcel might have to hit a couple passes, but hey, Noah Thomas showed up last week in a big way. So he had over 100, right, in a touchdown.
He had over 100 and a touchdown. Yeah, back-to-back good games. I think he has 11 receptions over the last 2 games. Best trend we've seen out of a receiver all year. So hopefully they build on that.
Yeah. But I'm curious. What do you think? What's the matchup's going to look like for A&M against that defense? Because right now I think I'd say you guys probably have the upper hand versus the Missouri offense from things I've seen. I mean, your D line is pretty dang explosive, and we've seen a lot of issues with their offensive line, including a lot of penalties.
Yeah, man. Yeah, a lot of penalties. Offensively, I do feel like A&M has a chance to establish the run, but again, it can't be one-dimensional. You can't just be running, zone left, zone right, gap scheme left, gap scheme right the whole game because they're just going to creep up and take away the run. They're going to force Marcel to pass. That's exactly what Arkansas did. And we got a lot of complaints in that game about the play calling, and I get it, but A&M, what they were doing was a lot of people look at 1st and 10 right now in modern football as a passing down, and A&M was doing just that. They were taking their shots on 1st and 10 versus Arkansas, and like you were getting at earlier, we just weren't hitting. Now, what I did like in that Arkansas game is, as opposed to the Bowling Green game, Reed was actually seeing the matchups and throwing them, albeit not accurately at times, but he was at least getting the ball. There were several one-on-one opportunities Reed threw the ball up to. Several, I mean, this is my bias coming in, but several questionable non-PI calls that got thrown up. I mean, there was one to Noah Thomas where he got knocked to the ground. They called it uncatchable, but damn, if he's on the ground, of course it's uncatchable. He's not running the last 5 yards to get close to that ball anyway. He was getting the ball up, and you're going to have to do that again against this defense because I fully agree with you. They're going to sell out for the run. They're going to bring that box safety in. They're going to be playing really tight to the line of scrimmage. You're going to see 7 guys in that box. They're going to try to take that run away, and you have to punish it. I don't think I'm not high on their defense, but I will say after watching the film, Their D-line is pretty nasty, especially on the interior. They have a transfer out of Florida, I think. They have a couple guys back. Johnny Walker was one of their better rush guys last year. He's back. They have some big bruisers inside, and they'll have some success against our offensive line. I thought Arkansas actually had a pretty good front seven in terms of stuffing the run. They got some big-ass bodies in there. Obviously, Landon Jackson's a freak. I mean, that dude's like 6'7", 280, good player. They've been together a while. And, they had the upper hand in the matchup for a couple quarters there in the middle of the game. Second and third quarter, we didn't get a lot going in the running game. In the fourth quarter, whatever happened, whatever adjustments they made, or if they were just the fresher team, whatever it was, they did get it going there. So it shows that A&M's O-line that's been, just blowing our expectations out of the water so far in the year in every facet. It's not invincible. It's not perfect. I think teams can match up against it. I look for A&M to pick up where they left off in that fourth quarter and not regress to whatever was going wrong early in that game. But maybe it was just a decent front seven for Arkansas that was winning their share of matchups. So you compare the two. I would actually say that I think Arkansas has a better front seven than Missouri. So I do look at A&M to win the offensive line versus their front seven matchup. But you got to do it, man. I mean, we saw 2 quarters, like I said, of deficient play last week, couple busts. It's going to be important to just be a lot cleaner this week and then connect on some of those shot plays you're going to take. Also, we're 3 starts into to Marcel Reed now. Colin Klein's getting a better feel for him. I mean, I've been making this point a lot online lately because I think Marcel, amongst Aggies, probably gets a little bit more criticism than he does from a national perspective. We can talk about that later, too. That's a whole discussion. But you got to realize under Colin Klein, everything's fairly new, right? He got here in spring. That's kind of the extent of the reps we've been taking under him. It's been Connor the whole time. Connor took the spring reps. Connor did summer workouts as the one. Connor was the one during camp. So Marcel is just now kind of getting into things. So as important as it is for Marcel to figure it out, this coaching staff is also learning what makes him tick. What are the best looks to get him going in the game? So right. I look for that to just further mold itself in this game as well. And yeah, I just think you got to hit some deep shots because they showed they were susceptible to deep shots against Vandy. And that is very much a running team. That's almost like a Army-Navy running team that Vandy's running over there. I mean, it's like option. It's like all zone reads, quarterback runs. But even Vandy had some shot plays over the heads of their secondary. So you got to make them pay there. You have to keep them honest like you were getting at earlier.
Well, that's the thing is that anyone that's stacking a box, like, you're going to be susceptible to a deep shot at times. And I don't care who you are. There will be a time where somebody gets open. And it's just, does the offense capitalize and make them pay the maximum price, and just pick up the big plays? And, yeah, I mean, Marcel's got a big arm, it's not to worry. And so you just got to hit a guy, hit a couple guys. That'd probably make a lot of Aggies really happy. But way I see it is he'll go 0 for the next 48 on throws over 20 yards. And then when we see you guys in November, he'll be like 7 of 8 for 220 just on those throws alone. So I've already played that sick scenario out in my twisted mind. Don't you worry, buddy. But
yeah, that's if it's Marcel, though. That's if it's Marcel. What if Connor comes back, man? I really don't know where they're going to go with it. I really don't know when Connor's healthy at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know you're not going to really speculate on that. If Marcel continues to win, I don't feel like you can pull him. It becomes really difficult. Now, at the same time, I'm not saying that doesn't mean you can't have a pretty short leash, because if he continues to win, what are you doing? You're throwing yourself into a playoff picture. You know what I mean? Your game with LSU, your game with Texas, begin to mean a whole lot. And all the games, obviously, but you know what I mean. But so it is a weird situation, not a weird situation, probably fun situation for you guys to be in. You're still 4-1. Connor's getting healthy, Marcel's getting reps. It's not exactly what's going on with us over in Austin, but somewhat similar. Like we'd love to have Quinn right now, but at the same time, it's been really fun watching Arch for 3 weeks. And so
yeah.
But we got one in agreement, and it's tough, man. I'm not a coach, not anymore. I don't know what you guys would do.
Yeah, I guess I'll give you my take since we're here, and I'll just put the speculation cap on. Why not? I mean, all right. So since the Florida game, I've been under the mindset that Reed has a chance to win it based on just the opportunity he has. And he has won 3 games in a row. But I think that we are so deficient in the passing game right now. If things don't progress, even if we're scrounging out wins, I think you still give Connor a look. That's where I am right now. Because if you look at how the Arkansas game went, and differently in the couple games prior, but in this particular game, when the Aggie offense was at its best, it wasn't on the heels of a Marcel Reed rushing attack. It didn't really have to do with that. A&M has shown they're a really good running team. Le'Veon Moss is currently the third leading rusher in the SEC. You have more than serviceable backups behind him. And, maybe Reed can give you some stuff scrambling, but I know Connor doesn't have the wheels that Reed does, but Connor is liable to scramble for a 3rd and 6 first down. He's done it time and time again. He can get that done. It's not like you're a fish out of water when you need Connor to go scramble if the middle of the field kind of vacates and the defenders turn their back to the quarterback. Connor can get that done. Where I think A&M is just so lacking right now, and we've been talking about it, is just pocket passing, man. It's just passing, dropping back, reading defenses, and finding guys. And I think A&M has enough in the running game right now to where Connor doesn't really make you that much more one-dimensional. I feel I've been listening to a lot of national takes on this game and A&M as a team, and I like Marcel. I don't want this to turn into a Marcel hate fest or anything like that. I really like Marcel. He's the quarterback of the future. Whether he starts the rest of the year or not, these reps are paying dividends for the future of A&M and for Marcel Reed himself. He also has a great mindset, great parents, father's a coach. All that stuff is true. Limits turnovers, good dude. But I still lean 100% to a 100% healthy Connor Wigman if he's available. If he's available at 100% this week, I think you give Connor the look. And if it doesn't work out, you can always just say, hey, that shoulder's flaring up, and we'll throw Reed back in there. I know that's not a great way to approach a game, but I just think this offense is begging for a passing game. I think the receivers are better than a lot of people think. I think the receivers have been getting separation these last few games. I think there have been a lot of opportunities that Marcel's just missed, and maybe he hits them a few weeks down the road. But are you going to survive those few weeks? Is that the best trajectory to put yourself on when your season culminates versus Texas, the best defense you'll face the rest of the year by far? I mean, on the road at South Carolina, that's a really good defense too.
It is.
It's a tough situation because Marcel has been winning. He's been taking care of the ball. But Connor won the job for a reason, man, through thousands of reps behind the scenes. So I'm leaning Connor. I think I'm in the minority there.
No, it's just people are still overreacting to the Notre Dame game, man, with Connor Wigman. Sure. That's all it is. He looked awful, and you can call it how it is and still say, hey, he's had much better days. That's not who he is. I'm still treating that as an outlier the same thing we said, both of us said when we talked before Florida. I like what Marcel's doing strictly because I like what he brings in the run game and the fact that you have to honor that. But at the same time, it's not a Connor, a hate Connor, hate Marcel thing. It's not what it is. You think Connor might be a little bit higher of a ceiling for this Aggie offense, and that's probably the best opinion, to be honest. He's looked really good, and not like he's played a crazy amount of games or anything, but we have short memories, we're impressionable, we're reactionary, and that's the last thing a lot of us think about with Connor is the Notre Dame game. Tough.
Yeah, it was a bad game, man.
Get healthy, though, so that we can have a legit discussion about it and see if he gets another shot to get out there. I haven't seen this name in a while. Welcome back to the channel. Long time no see. And, whoa, I don't think that's right. I don't think it would destroy the confidence, in my opinion. I think if you're a team player and Connor was the guy, Connor had one bad game, you've seen football forever if you're Marcel Reed. You understand a bad game doesn't define one player.
You want to hear something? Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, you got it, Drew.
I mean, on that comment right there, I get that mindset in the transfer portal era of football, but I will say Marcel Reed has a great mindset, man, and that's because his dad is a former coach, and his dad actually was interviewed a few weeks ago and straight up said, you don't lose a job by getting hurt. I mean, we're ready for whatever happens. We're ready for when Connor comes back, he goes back in. This is a close-knit group. I think Reed understood that. And Reed, much like, I mean, I don't mean to compare them exactly, but much like Arch Manning going to Texas, knowing Quinn was the guy, when Reed came to A&M, he knew there was a 5-star future of the program, only a year older than him in the program. I mean, he understood that. That was a factor when he made his initial decision, and it still is a factor today. And it shows you're obviously just a play away. It takes an injury for you to get out there. But I wouldn't think that Reed is that personality group right now. That's not where I would lean, but that's always a possibility.
I'm with you. You know, like you just said, it's one play away, and the good players that, you know, like they're going to sit there and prepare like they're going to get ready to play a game that day. And so I think, long story short, Tipton, I don't think it'd be an issue. Don't worry about it like that. That doesn't seem the type of guy, player, person that Marcel Reed is. This is a big point, Randy. It makes defense so much easier when you can get pressure on the quarterback with just 4 guys, and y'all do have a hell of a defensive line. I've said that many times. It seems like they're only going to kind of get better here. These guys are big and strong up there. As we get later and further into the year, some of these SEC offenses that are really struggling with offensive line issues, they could, you guys could, I hate to say it, man, but y'all could really feast with that defensive line. Y'all don't really need a lot of help bringing 5, bringing 6. If you don't have to do that against Missouri, and those extra DBs and backers can just help with Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, and Nate Noel, you know, I mean, that goes a really long ways, of course, and that's a luxury that y'all have had here in the last 15 years with some incredible pass rushers. And my school over there for about a 5-year period, we could have sent 15 players on one snap and still not got to the quarterback. And so I have been a little bit envious of the A&M defensive line prowess that you guys have shown over the last 15 years or so, starting with Miles and continuing on with Vaughn rather, and continuing on with a long list of guys. And so respect to you guys for that. Y'all always seem nowadays to have some elite pass rushing edge players. Cannot wait to see them go up against a very, very good Texas offensive line. This is kind of a matchup that we've all talked about, not to get too off on a sidebar, but we've talked about that matchup for a couple of years now. Once we've known that Texas was going to join the SEC, and there were some pictures and memes, gifs, whatever about the power versus power essentially, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So those are guys that I respect, and at the same time, don't necessarily look forward to playing against, because Nick Scorton's a bad man, and there's a lot of other cats on that A&M defensive line that pretty damn good. So call it how it is. I hope you Aggies still watching. Well, you can see that I can be nice about your guys and keep it real. I definitely think you guys have a really good defense. And if you can get to cook with just 4 guys, it's going to be a long afternoon for Missouri. I mean, it really will be. They're going to have to do something about that pass rush. What do you think, offensive line? How does Missouri's O-line stack up to Arkansas's, Drew?
Missouri's O-line to Arkansas's. Ooh. That's a tough question, because Arkansas's, I think, played a little bit worse than I would have expected. Arkansas's was also rebuilt in the portal last year, and they were pretty good in their physical matchups, but as far as communication, detecting blitzes, handling twists, that's where they were really deficient, and that showed in the game. Missouri's O-line looks a little soft, man. It looks a little soft. I saw some Vandy tackles just blowing guards back into the backfield. Brady Cook in a collapsing pocket a little bit too often, not necessarily jailbreak pockets, but shrinking pockets a lot. I think A&M can have some success rushing 4, but if you totally vacate that box, like I said, Nate Noel can squirt out of there if they do some kind of spread run. And I think that's kind of when they're at their best running, is when they're running those, not quite the Tennessee spread look, but when they have their 4 wide receiver and they're just going to hand him the ball off inside zone. And he's just got, he's a small frame. Yeah, man.
He's exactly right. They like to run the 10 personnel, 1 running back, no tight end, spread you out, still be able to throw off that play action right there, still run some of their bubble game, their tunnel games, and things like that. That's what Missouri wants to do. They don't want to line up with multiple tight ends, anything like that. I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to see them improving. That they did have a bye, man, but they are committing penalty after penalty on offense, giving up sacks. At one point against Boston College, man, they had like a second or third down and 52. They had like a chop block and then a sack and then another penalty.
A lot of penalties,
and it's just like, for a team that was expected to really contend for a playoff spot. I mean, really expected to. Just thought there had been a little tighter, a little bit more tightened up, a little bit more together. Now, let me ask you this, Drew. Do you think this is kind of a Super Bowl? And this is going to sound crazy. And if anyone hears this from Missouri, Maggie Johnson, if you hear this, I love you and I apologize for for the way that this is about to sound. But is this kind of a Super Bowl here for Missouri? Because if you look at the schedule, brother, you've got UMass after this. You've got Auburn going to Columbia. Then you have Alabama. So I guess I should say Alabama. But then you've got Oklahoma, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Arkansas to end the year. I think y'all are just, a tier better than those teams there. Talking about South Carolina, definitely a lot better than Mississippi State. Obviously, you're better than Arkansas. You're better than Oklahoma. Better than Auburn. This is a huge game for them. I'm sure they sat there on their bye week and were like, hey, if we get past this game, we even, you can't really use this as your mulligans. Then you still have Alabama, Auburn. You can still slip up. It's SEC. You know this better than I, sir. But, they've got to have this one really circled. If we get by this one, they start looking a lot more likely for the playoffs. I don't know. They'd have to improve a lot with their play, because if they've looked the way they have over that first 4 weeks, it doesn't matter if they beat y'all in, a 3-2 game or however it plays out. They just got to improve a lot to make the playoffs, long story short. But, yeah, does it feel that way to you? Their schedule is really kick.
Yeah, 100% it does. And it's kind of weird because I feel like you could have said the same thing about Notre Dame, who, has at A&M and then a manageable schedule beyond that. And that's kind of why people are making them the preseason playoff pick that they were. And they ended up slipping. They're on thin margins again. But same thing with Florida. They had A&M, the manageable home opponent. They win that. Maybe they can get to bowl eligibility. Didn't happen. And, that was kind of their Super Bowl too, in a way. Arkansas as well. They got the win versus Auburn. Chance to go 2-0 in SEC play to start their year off strong with Sam Pittman on the hot seat. They have a tough schedule down the stretch, but if they can beat A&M, they can maybe catch a couple more teams and really put a good year together. And it is absolutely, once again, the case for Missouri, I think. I think, is it must win for Missouri? I think on paper, like you were getting at, it's not. But if they go out and they're sloppy again and they've shown that they haven't made the strides they're trying to make, if you can't beat A&M and you look sloppy versus A&M, I think it makes a lot of those games look a lot different. The Oklahoma game feels different. The South Carolina game feels different. There's a lot less hope in that at Alabama spot. The Arkansas game, high variance team in Arkansas. That's a rivalry. Who knows what would happen? So if they want to make the playoffs, like they were hell-bent on doing this year going into the year, hell yeah, this is their Super Bowl. This is a must-win game. And at the very worst, you lose this game, but A&M made strides. A&M looked good in the game. It was a competitive game. Give yourself some room for improvement going into those other games. At least show progress this game. At least show you're not just drunk like how you started the season. Because you're absolutely right, man. This is such a team that you would think would hit the ground running on a year, right? This is the dream scenario in college football with, the revolving door that is the sport right now. And they get that whole offensive crew back, and it's been that offensive crew that's just looked so sloppy on the year so far. So major opportunity. Yeah, man, they got to at least play really good. And, like I said, if they play well, A&M takes strides and looks good themselves, I think they can stomach the loss. But if they look sloppy again, they lose the game, it could be trouble.
Yeah, and I don't want to speculate because I don't know anything, but I don't think a lot of us feel that Billy Napier will be in Florida next year. Still a lot of losses left on that. A lot of losses left on that schedule. And long story short, what if Drink's got his eye on a different gig right now other than what he's supposed to be looking at in Columbia? That's speculatory. I apologize. But just a scenario to play out in your mind, because that offense does not look the way that anyone thought it would. Inside of Columbia, outside of Columbia, even their rivals, they thought that would, hey, Shaq, I love you, man. I like that we're out here talking this noise. This is what it's about. I love this. This is what we're here for. If you're going to say it with your chest. And plus, I also love Shaq. So I'm with you. Stoops or Drink to Florida. Hey, Stoops is making a damn good case for himself right now. You can say that. And here's the thing about that. What was your reaction, Drew? I was stunned. On our gambling segment that I continue to reference because I'm a degenerate, I went 4-1 on the 5 picks I gave out. The only pick that I lost was Ole Miss. I thought they were going to curb stomp Kentucky. Did that game surprise you?
Hell yeah, it did. And, I didn't know if Ole Miss was like this well-oiled machine that everyone thought it was. It was this team that was poised to be one of the tops in the SEC. I was more surprised that Kentucky shut up to bat after that South Carolina game versus Georgia and Ole Miss. I mean, they lost the Georgia game, but they're just getting better. I mean, yeah, Mark Stoops might find himself down in Gainesville this year. I mean, maybe he'll come back to Aggie land and I can kick him out again. Maybe that'll happen. I mean, yeah, he's definitely making a name for himself late in the tenure now. That was super shocking. They were showing that on the big screen at Jerry World when I was shuffling into the game very, very late last minute. So I didn't get to focus on the ending there, but I saw Caden Davis shanked a field goal to win that game or tie that game for Ole Miss. That's the same kicker that shanked a field goal to beat App State a few years ago. So a little bit of, I don't know what to call it. Felt pretty good. Felt pretty good to see Ole Lane go down.
I saw a few tweets about that. Not worded so as nicely as your comment right there. Mr. Wynn, I don't know if it's me you're saying is sunshine pumping, but I just want to address it. If so, if you guys look like shit, I'm going to tell you that too, okay? But I really do love your defense. So let's keep that in mind.
Oh, I think he's saying he's sunshine pumping. This game,
okay.
Okay, yeah, sure. He's sunshine pumping. That Gwynn's a good one.
Because this is your second time I've had you on, right? So I was just making sure he wasn't thinking that I'm just saying nice things to my guests because to be nice to my guests. But no, I apologize, Mr. Wynn. Definitely don't think you're sunshine pumping. I think that, he was close on a couple of those deep balls last week. He connects there.
Yeah.
You've got some big, speedy receivers. Big plays could happen. So I definitely will not be ruling that out whatsoever.
Let me go through some of these guys because I see all my regular crews in here. Jay Wynn, thank you, man, for being here. Subscribe to Ghost. Love Shack, thank you for being here. Subscribe to Ghost. Who else is in here that I recognize? If y'all are from my channel, I think it says paired. Dead Messenger. Yeah, I think you're from my side. Subscribe to Ghost. Jeb, you got to subscribe to Ghost. I think I saw you already did that. Jeb has been around from the day one on my channel, which is crazy.
Let's
He's
go.
still around.
All right,
Jeb's been around since we started in 2022. We started in a pretty shit year for Aggie football.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I've been through some ups and downs, mostly downs. I think I'm like 500 as a show host. I got my first road win covering the team this year versus Florida. I hadn't covered a road win up until that point, which is insane. But thank you guys for being here. Y'all better subscribe to this man. He is a very fair Longhorn. We won't hold it against him that he's wearing the wrong colors, repping the wrong school. But he has some awesome guests on here. He'll bring you some good stuff.
Absolutely. Definitely plan to do a lot more with Aggies as we continue through the season. The closer that we get to that game, I've got some fun Aggie guests committed to come on, as well as Drew's welcome back at any time. He's a busy man though, doing his own thing. So appreciate all the love you guys show him. It's fun to watch Drew's shows. I try to catch them when I can, but I'm trying to get that rep up. We're running shows almost daily over here. It is Ghost & Friends, Mr. Yannick. It is I've been working on the name, man. The whole Twitter thing is where Ghost came up. So some of the YouTube guys I feel like are what the hell is this? What is Ghost & Friends? What does this even mean? And then they click on it and you're talking about college football, sometimes talking about like Memphis versus Tulane, like the most random stuff. So yeah, guys, appreciate y'all being here. It's a very fun community. I lived in College Station for 10 years, married an Aggie. There's a very small percentage of me that, will root for you guys on occasion because I have to, because of the wife, not just because I'm that nice of a ghost. So don't get it twisted. But no,
the quality of life, you root for the Aggies at times.
At times, I've been to Kyle Field 15 times or so without, during your SEC times. Obviously we weren't playing. I've been around College Station a lot, so definitely like to interact with the Aggies. Have a lot of good times on Twitter. If any of you guys are on Twitter, it's at 40 Acre Vibes, all spelled out. I'm on there way too much, but we do have a lot of fun, a lot of Aggie content on there as well. Really appreciate it, you guys. Drew, thank you, everybody in there sub. It means a lot. I'll say this: at 300 subscribers, me and a couple of other Aggies are getting on this channel, meeting up live all together, and we're doing a hamburger eating contest. So we're getting pretty close to that. We said that from the first day of the channel, which, by the way, Drew, now that you mention it, I am now 5-0 as a show host. I might retire right now.
You might have to on top. Yeah.
You're
on top.
I never considered that. And so I might step down right now and let the kid run it, But no, man, it's been a lot of fun so far. Drew's been very supportive in this. We talk a little bit when we can, once we start talking, I feel like we almost don't stop. And so I love talking to Drew. It's a lot of fun because he's fully transparent about what he thinks about A&M. He's not afraid to have a different opinion. we might fight later because I like Marcel Reed and he might like Connor Wigman a little more, but we'll get over it. Okay. We'll move on by it. And so I do have to ask you, man, because we don't have a game this weekend. I'm supposed to be at your game, actually. 90% still hammering down the other 10%. But let me ask you this. The next Texas game is a pretty big one for us. It's the Red River. You got an early prognosis or prediction on the old Red River this year?
And that's one of those games anything can happen, right? It's one of those games where OU can be kind of sucking and then all of a sudden they'll give you a game. But, man, if they don't get that receiver room straightened out, they really don't have a chance. They just don't have the weapons out there to make you pay. I like the new quarterback, Hawkins, but, yeah, man, I just don't see it this year. I just don't see it. I have you winning that game, and I have you beating Georgia. I have you winning every game until you play A&M. So, I mean, that defense might give you some trouble. Hopefully you have Quinn back by then. I think you should have Quinn back by then. I mean, it's a good what do you call it? What's the guy's name? Their coach's name? Venables. It's a good Brent Venables coach defense. They're tough. They're hard nosed, but I just don't think they have the troops to hang with y'all this year. So I have y'all winning a couple scores in that game. I'm not getting my hopes too high.
I'll say this, man. I did ask before the season. I asked all the Texas faithful on Twitter. I said, if Texas went 11-1 this season, a guaranteed 11-1, but the one loss was to Texas A&M, would you take it? And the bulk majority of our fans said no. They screamed no. 70 to 80%, I would say. I probably had 125, 150 comments somewhere in there, maybe more. Which, I mean, I say the bulk of our fan base. A few guys on Twitter, they all screamed no. I would take it right now and I'd run with it. I would mute you. I would mute you and you and you and every other person in the comments. I'm just kidding. I can take the banter. I would definitely, just getting into the playoffs and having life and having a chance at winning a natty, knowing that, hey, if y'all are that good, maybe y'all went 6-6 and beat us. Maybe, you probably didn't. You probably went 10-2 or better. And so, knowing we might see you down the road, hey, I'll take it and run with it. That's my long story short.
Dude, I'm the same way as you. I'm the same way as you, dude. If I get some kind of like diabolical would you rathers or what ifs on my channel with the callers, I have some callers that call in like once a month just to try to like make me feel really uncomfortable and ask me these kinds of questions. I'll sacrifice the game versus Texas if it means we make the playoff. I'll sacrifice Texas and LSU if it gets us to the promised land. I have no shame. I'll take the loss. Get me to the highest possible level. I'll take it. We have guys like Ghost, so I know I can lean on, who aren't just going to rub all that in my face too much. I'll mute some other guys, but I'll leave Ghost unmuted. We can still have some banter after it happens.
The only thing I'm going to do is post that duck gif. That's all I'm going to do. I'll leave everything else alone. But go ahead.
The duck gif?
Oh, man. I had like 3 Aggies unsubscribe from my channel, which at the time it didn't hurt me because I had like 40 subscribers. And I was like, it did hurt me because I had like 40 subscribers, and I was like, that hurts a little bit. But no, after the Notre Dame game, when your football team or your football account posted the final score, I created the little smoking duck gif where it's just like shaking his head, and I put a Longhorn hat on it. And I do plan to use that further down the line, but I'm leaving it at that. I'll
be sure to unsubscribe when I see it. Don't worry, I'll jump in the crowd.
But I had one DM about it, and he was just like, if you can't be respectful when we lose, I can't follow you anymore. And I'm like, buddy, it's a duck. You're not mad at me. You're mad at the duck.
How about this? Whenever you get to 1,000 subs, you and me, hamburger eating contest, naked on the beach.
Oh man, I see what you did there. Well played. I did have the burrito guy on yesterday. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was in there, dude. What is this guy? Who is this guy? What? I guess when you don't have to show your face, you can just be whoever the hell you want to be. Burrito guy is on another level. I can't even contend with the burrito guy.
He made me confess to my felony on camera. I was telling him, about the beach story, and he's like, "That's a felony, right?" And I'm like, yeah, But good times as college football fans. Take it for what it is. We're gonna talk a little trash. We're gonna take a little naked beach run, eat a hamburger or two along the way. It is what it is. And so I appreciate you having some fun.
I think the chat needs you to explain the beach story, because I'm just seeing a bunch of what WTFs right now. That was an inside joke. Are you able to explain it?
I can explain it. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't just pull a naked beach scenario out of my ass. There's a burrito in there anyway. I couldn't get that out of there.
So the hamburger reference, the hamburgers on the beach, the hamburger reference is from the 300 subs that we just talked about, the competition, me and a few other Aggies. The beach reference is from last year, and I apologize to anybody that heard me tell this story yesterday, but the beach story, last November, Texas played Kansas State at home. We went to overtime after blowing a pretty big lead. Malik Murphy was starting at quarterback. Ghost had extremely low confidence in our ability to win that game in overtime. I'm just going to keep it real. And so I was down at a beach, and for my daughter's birthday, I posted a photo of said beach and said, if Texas wins in overtime, I will streak naked on this beach. And after Texas won in overtime, I had a lot of people telling me, no, the burrito was not me. The burrito was not me. But yeah, I had a lot of people on Twitter telling me that I needed to follow up with it, and I never planned on not following up with it. And so later, when nobody else was around, I did wait until pitch black. I did provide video evidence of said beach run. And so my ghost name comes from how white my ass was. Don't ever watch that video. I definitely bad. Need a tan. That's why I was at the beach. But don't tell anybody, because apparently I committed a felony and they're looking for me.
See, the lore is expanding. The ghost lore is expanding before our eyes. The crowd, you're getting more insight. You're getting bits and pieces. So the lore is developing right now. The lore of Ghost.
YouTube doesn't know me, and that's the thing. Like, I'm a goofy clown on Twitter. Like, I make a bunch of dumb jokes on Twitter, and I ran naked on the beach one time, and that kind of helped get my account to the point of where it is now, because that post went a lot bigger than I thought it would. That was never the purpose of doing it. I was just like, I'm frustrated with the way the second half went, and this is my way of coping. I'm going to post a funny picture, and sure enough, Texas won that game. The favorite, I didn't show anything. It's just from the back, buddy. It's just my butt. Okay. So no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, hey, is that what it takes? Is that how you get the follows? Because I mean, I'm open to expanding the possibilities and opening the follower base. So I got to run naked. Do I got to go burrito? I heard that guy got like 5,000 subs after 5,000 followers after the burrito.
He's gained 6,400. He's picked up 6,400 followers since he made that wager, or sent the tweet making the wager. I think I had like 5K on Twitter before that, and then I probably picked up like 1,000 from that or something like that. I don't know, man. It all kind of blurs together, but yeah, that's the thing is, like, I had people like from all over telling me like, bro, you have to do this. It was like Central Florida fans and Oregon State fans, and they were like, bro, no, you have to go do that. And I was like, okay, I can't do it right now. There's literally hundreds of people all up and down the beach. But I fully agree with you right here, and let's not pretend like that was the first time that I've ever been naked on the beach. But good times. I love college football. And who's to say that, you know what, not that Texas won the national championship last year, but maybe I don't make that run, and then maybe Texas loses, the very next week, because curses are real. All right. I do not need a film crew, Mr. J. I'm good on the film crew. Okay. Actually, I can talk Drew in here. We can go play some golf. You can come out there. I feel like that would make for some really good content. You can play with us. We'll take turns filming. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude. You were on the freaking high stake bets before they popped off this year with Knowles, whatever that guy's name is. You were on it like a year or two before, weren't you? You were holding to your word before the guy never ate the shit.
Yeah, I mean, but to be fair, man, I'd seen plenty of other people make big time. Not big time. I'd seen people do it and not follow through. And I don't know, man. I don't think very much when I tweet, Drew. I really don't. Things pop in my head. They worked their ways through my finger before I even realize it. I've hit post, and I'm like, damn, I shouldn't have posted that. And then it's too late, man. I don't like to delete. Yeah, there you go. I don't like to delete too many tweets. But that's what I'm saying, man. For my college football team, like, I would do almost anything in the world, almost anything in the world. So I have no regrets, as they say. Mr. Jonathan Rosenhauer, we will have our NFL Talk show this week. Can't do it in the morning, bro. So maybe Thursday. Jonathan is also down for the burger eating competition. Drew at 1,000 followers. I've seen him naked on the beach. Wait, what? Pause.
What?
Just kidding. That's a great buddy. He lives right here in town with me. Very supportive of the channel, so I had to troll him a little bit.
Nice.
This is honestly probably the case. 3, 2, 1. Noel is sitting somewhere and just regretting life, because he knows his love, his passion. Florida State football is going to be in the shitter until he eats the shit. There's just no way
Yeah, he
around
needs
that.
to stop reflecting on life and start eating feces. That's what he needs to do. He needs to sit,
Priorities.
he needs to buckle up and stick to his word. I mean,
Yep.
look, DJU's falling apart because you're not eating the shit.
I mean, like, is there a way that he can go through some type of like nutritionist and get some like, health recommended shit? Not some like I
Yeah,
mean, like, it's got to be some
some like
special
some
poo out
wagyu,
there that won't like
wagyu, like
exactly that.
dry aged or something nice. You could something like that would help a lot. Yeah, combo did get weird. Things have deteriorated. We've been talking a little too long now.
Yeah, I love it though, man. Drew, thank you for being here. Just trying to show these Aggies in the chat that they got a few different sides. Can talk a little Aggie football, but definitely a goofball on Twitter. Y'all go check that out. Appreciate you showing my guy Drew so much support and being here, man. It means a lot. He asks out. You guys are like all in here, and we're having a good time. Love my guy, Mr. Bain, one of my favorites on Twitter. Big shout out. Definitely my top 3 favorite Aggies. Drew, you're right there as well. Can't talk about number 3s. He might be watching. I don't want him to get a big head, but thanks, man. I appreciate you doing this. Good luck to your Aggies against a Missouri team that we're still not sure what they are. So I definitely think that's a game that you guys can go win. I know you have that official prediction. Mine will be pretty similar to yours, I believe.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me. Hope to do it again soon. And enjoy the bye week. Enjoy the rest because, you're having fun on the year, but it's always stressful.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It definitely is nice to go a day without stressing over your own game. Hey, Aggies, if you see a ghost walking around Kyle Field, say what's up, okay? But no, also glad the rivalry's back. Glad that we can do shows like this. Means a lot. Appreciate you guys. Like this video for Drew. Subscribe to the channel. Continue to subscribe to Drew TAMU on YouTube.